program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And CJ looks like he's wired in and ready to go today.
Well, I'm something. I don't exactly know what they call it, but I'm definitely something.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. We've got the next saga, the next chapter in the saga of As the Recall Turns. And we have a new one, so we'll lead off the show. A news story that Spindle City Straight Talk broke last week. That was broken today on WSAR. Windowgate. So for all you people out there who say, oh, we listen to some rumors, as we said before, sometimes, most of the time, some of these rumors that we get from our sources really actually are valid, and we are digging, and WSAR is digging. And today we were informed that 22 windows were installed in the government center, some of which were in the, ironically enough, the law department in the mayor's office. And no one knows who ordered those windows. No one. There was no RFP. There were no bids. There were nothing. Nobody knows anything. This is like the Nuremberg trials. I did nothing. You know, I was just following orders. The mayor said he has no knowledge, direct or indirect, of anything about this, even though some of the windows are in his office. So I don't know what he was doing. Maybe he was in Providence having dinner when they put the windows in.
Can you picture that, Chip? I mean, think about this. The mayor's sitting there doing his paperwork and the window's coming out behind him, but he has no idea what's going on.
Yeah, you know, it's like, well, maybe that's the reason the city's in the financial condition it's in, because obviously he's oblivious to everything. So, I mean, when they rip a window out and you're on the 6th floor and you have no knowledge, I mean, as the mayor of the city, you think you'd go, wow, it's on the 6th floor of a building. They have to put a scaffolding. They have to, you know, this is a pretty high-priced thing. Obviously, it's not regular window glass up there. I would say, as the mayor in a city that's in financial distress, I would say, whoa, you know, who's got the bid for this? What's this? I didn't even hear about this. But again, our mayor has no knowledge, direct or indirect. Probably it's the same as the dashboard.
The missing dashboard. Well, you know, Chip, this is very interesting because here's how it all came about. And I find it very amazing that this happens this way. The reason it came out is the subcontractor who did this job, not the contractor. The contractor was Global Glass. The subcontractor did the work for Global Glass for $50,000. Global Glass owner, Mr. Raposa, wrote him a check for the $50,000 and it bounced. Boing. And he went to the police department and filed a criminal complaint. The man wrote a bounced check. And then all of a sudden, everyone starts looking around because he's saying, look, I put in 22 windows down at City Hall and nobody's paying me. Now, interestingly enough, the only people who had the authority to authorize these windows to be replaced are the purchasing agent, the city administrator, and the mayor. Excuse me, hello. I mean, three of the people don't know anything. The city council has no clue. Okay, there's no bids, no contracts, no anything anywhere. But Mr. Raposa from Global Glass couldn't do work for the city because he has outstanding taxes which have been unpaid. So the question is, were these windows installed as a payment in lieu of taxes? You know, it's very interesting to see how this is going to pan out because obviously this is something the mayor doesn't want anyone to know about, but it's too late. We knew. And, you know, it's just making this city look more and more foolish. It's like it's like who's running the chicken coop here? And
yeah.
it's all buffoons. It's just amazing.
Well, you know what I find interesting, CJ, is that, as you said, I don't know that, I doubt seriously that this subcontractor walked by the government center one day and said, well, I think I'll throw a few windows in there under the cover of darkness, and then I'll submit a bill. He was contacted by Global Glass, as you said, and the thing I find ironic is number one. Well, I don't find it ironic. I find it, standard as far as the city not knowing anything, because obviously they have absolutely no clue about where any of the money is in this city, because all they do is just spend it, and they worry about it later. So that doesn't surprise me. But what really bothers me about this thing is that we've heard that City Administrator Kathy Ann Viveris was quick to say, we called the Attorney General's office. By the way, the Attorney General, who we've called numerous times and had people call, and will get absolutely no answer. The only answer we get is, we don't want to, we're not going to make any rulings in the city of Fall River that has anything to do with anything. But they got an answer immediately. I know that Councilor Ray Mitchell has asked the Attorney General for an opinion on something, on an issue. He's been waiting over 3 weeks for an answer. No answer as of yet. But apparently the city called, and the Attorney General said, that's okay, you don't have to pay them. Really? Really? What a great business climate we have in the city. Come to Fall River and we'll screw you out of your money. Come on, come work for the city. It's like, this is absolutely, it's ridiculous. And I mean, and here is a city official saying, hey, look, we can get out of this. Look, the guy did the work. There's 22 new windows. Obviously he's going to come after the city, and then the city will go after the contractor. Well, guess what? This guy is a businessman. We try to promote business. This is a business-friendly community. Come on. I mean, this is disgusting to see things like this happen. They go public with the fact that, hey, good, we can beat this bill. We don't think we have any liability. And if you do, take us to court. Let's spend money in court rather than pay this poor guy. This guy did work for the city. I mean, those windows are there. I want to find out the exact windows so the next time I run a tour of the 6th floor, I can point those out with the $9,000 door and the marble floor and the gold inlaid bathroom.
Well, it's very interesting, though, because according to Kathy Ann Viveris, the Attorney General had said that the contractor who installed these windows did so at his own peril, and that the city was not obliged to pay him for the windows or the work. Now, interestingly enough, the law does address that, and there is a provision in the law. I can't remember the exact title of it, but it does say that if a painter comes on your property, and this is used as an example, and paints your fence, and you see him painting your fence and you don't stop him, you are obliged to pay him for that, because you did not make any effort to stop him from doing the work. And the mayor saying he has no knowledge, directly or indirectly, as the window behind him is coming out and a huge breeze blows through the mayor's office. Wouldn't you, if you were mayor, turn around and say, hey, you, what, how is that being replaced, and why are you replacing it?
Yeah, obviously, as mayor, especially with a mayor that is the mayor of a city that is in such financial condition, I would, number one, question who actually proposed these things without coming to me. I mean, to my knowledge, most of those windows were serviceable to a degree. I believe at least one had plywood, but I mean, $50,000. They're complaining about the recall election, but they spent $55,000 for a fence with no gates. Now they're going to spend $50,000 on windows. But the fact is, for her to say he did this at his own peril, I mean, this is the way you treat people who do work, and you expect people to ever do business with the city of Fall River. To do peril, this man is a subcontractor. He was hired by Global Glass, who obviously told him that you're working in a government center and you're subbing for me. So he would obviously say, okay, I'm working in the government center. Geez, they must have a contract, because, I'm going to be taking windows out of the mayor's office. And, you know, so, I mean, why would he have to demand to see the contract and see the bid? You know, I mean, this is what it's gotten to in Fall River, that we can't, who's going to do business with us? It takes us months and sometimes years to pay bills. Many local vendors will not sell anything to Fall River because we owe them money. I had a circumstance when I was still on the fire department where we had a flat tire on a piece of fire apparatus, and we had to get a tire from Brockton because no city vendors would sell us a tire because we owed them all money. So this is the way we do business in this city. It's a disgrace. As a taxpayer, as a person who lives in Fall River, and we keep hearing, let's be proud of Fall River, let's have pride in our city. Well, you know, I don't make any bones about it. I live here. But how can I be proud of it? Not the city, but the government, because the government is a reflection of the community. And we are the laughingstock of not only this country, not only internationally. If there are life forms in the universe, we are probably the laughingstock of the universe.
I think that's why the ETs have stopped coming to Fall River. They figure we've got enough idiots in our own backyard. We don't need to pick them up from somewhere else. But, you know, it's very true. I mean, you know, when you look at what's happening, I mean, we can't write this stuff. And we've said this over and over again. And I have to ask, really, Mr. Mayor? You didn't know? I mean, who wears the pants on the 6th floor? Because obviously it's not the mayor, because he has no idea when a 9,000 doors are replaced or when 22 windows are replaced. And, I mean, was it corporate counsel who turned around and said, I can't see through this brick of wood. Please, somebody put a window in here. Oh, and all the others are all dingy, so get rid of those too. I mean, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, you know?
Yeah, I think that I think maybe some of those windows could have just gotten washed, and I know there are window washing contractors that are probably a lot cheaper than the windows. But you know, we get back to that. We get back to the mayor, the leader, the man who said not too long ago in one of his promo speeches, I have learned that the buck stops here. It took them all that time to remember the buck stops there. Well, Mr. Mayor, the buck stopped there on the windows too. Have you forgotten that already? You know, this is your city, supposedly, the city you love, the city that's in financial is in financial disaster and chaos. Yet, you look at windows being replaced on your floor, the Taj Mahal, and I know you don't like that reference, but it is. But the fact is, you look at this, you look at these windows being replaced for what? Because they need washing? It's like buying a new car because your ashtray's full. It's like, well, you know, people don't, you know, unfortunately, most people don't have that kind of money. So again, we see a lack of leadership because, you know something, going on and saying, I have no direct or indirect knowledge shows you failed again as a leader. You have to have direct knowledge. You are where the buck stops in your office. That is not a valid excuse for the chief executive officer of this community. I'm sorry, but that will not play.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, you had mentioned Attorney General Martha Coakley, who, by the way, is the Democratic candidate for governor. I have called her office numerous times on opinions, and her office has clearly stated that we will not make any rulings on issues in the city of Fall River because of the political and personal relationship between the Attorney General and the Mayor of Fall River. Now, I have reached out a number of times, going back about a month and a half to 2 months, to Republican candidate Charlie Baker for commentary on the Attorney General's abrogation of her responsibilities under the law. And I'm sorry to say that Republican candidate Charlie Baker for governor has failed to return any phone calls. His press office has failed to return any phone calls. I have spoken several times with people in his office who have guaranteed me a call back, none of which has happened. So maybe people at Fall River are right. Maybe the Republicans really don't care about Fall River because they never win a race here anyhow. But you would think that a gentleman who is running for governor of this state would look into matters where the Attorney General of this state cannot do her job and assign that job to the U.S. Attorney General because she has a political or personal relationship with the leader of a city. Again, we start looking at this and we say, we're calling this window gate. Some people are calling it something else. But it reeks of Watergate type situations. And maybe it's time that the charter does get changed so that we can impeach the mayor.
Well, as I said, we really need an outside independent investigation. I think the city council should call for a special investigation on these windows because obviously a lot of heads should roll. How can we have, this is ridiculous. I mean, people can just walk into the government center and just begin to just rip windows out and put them in and nobody goes, oh, by the way, what are you doing here? By the way, what contract are you working on? What contract do you work for? There's big security on the 6th floor. You got to buzz your way in, and we have all these pronunciations of the fact that we are, this dangerous, people are dangerous in this city. And on one hand, and then he says, oh, the crime rate's going down, even though we got voted the 4th most dangerous city in the Commonwealth. But all these things are going around, and there seems to be no one minding the store. Regardless of what the rhetoric says, regardless of the fact that he said that the buck stops there, it seems like the buck has disappeared. Nobody can find the buck. And if they do find it, we're not liable. And as far as Martha Coakley's concerned, it's disgraceful that the Attorney General has put her political interest above her duty as the highest authority in the legal system in the state of Massachusetts and made that secondary to her political aspirations. And as far as Mr. Baker's concerned, if I ever run into him, I will tell him that, I'm disappointed in the fact that he didn't weigh in on this because this is conduct that, look, it almost appears as though people, I think they would really like it if we seceded from Massachusetts and went to Rhode Island, because nobody up there wants to have anything to do with Fall River. You call the Secretary of State and they go, we don't want to touch anything. You guys are having a recall. That's a home rule petition. We're not going to give you any help. We call the Attorney General. We can't help you because guess what? I'm running for governor, and that's more important than the legal issues in Fall River. Really? I don't think so. And obviously we know how we're looked upon by the State House and the people in Boston. The South Coast is almost like, oh really? Who was it that just, was it Elizabeth Warren? And I don't want to be incorrect on this. You can correct me, see, that was surprised that Fall River was in Massachusetts?
Well, actually it was Jeopardy.
Oh, Jeopardy? All right.
Jeopardy said that we were part of Little Rhodey. So, I mean, as far as everyone's concerned, we don't belong anywhere. So maybe we should just secede from the country, form our own little country, and we will call it, Rip-Offville.
Well, yeah, well, there was a movie a very long time ago called A Mouse That Roared, and it was about that. It was about a small area that seceded and declared war on the United States so they could get financial aid. And maybe if we secede from the Union, we can get financial aid from the government. And that may be our only out at
this point, yeah.
At this point in time. But it's just tragic that the people again have to deal with just the total insensitivity of the rest of this state. It seems as nobody cares. We can't get legal opinions. Everybody just says, hey, you're on your own. But if we were a politician and we called about windows, the Attorney General will give us an opinion immediately. Oh, you don't have to pay the guy, just stiff him. So I think that really speaks volumes for the way Fall River is perceived and the way government has gotten to the point where it's no longer a republic. We're not being represented. This is an oligarchy. This is where the few control the many, and that's why we are trying to change government, and that's why we all have to get together, not only in this city but throughout this state and throughout this country, to take back control, because it appears as though that the only choice we have in this society is paper or plastic at the markets. And with that, I will segue, unless CJ wants to stay on this.
Oh, no, I've got to go into something else.
We're going to segue into last night's Board of Elections meeting, and I'll let you begin that.
Well, not only is this window gate, this is cousin gate. We have everybody, it seems, in the city works for a cousin. The Commissioner Dunn, which I don't even like using that term, Michael Dunn's. Obviously, I slipped. Michael Dunn had to recuse himself because he had firsthand knowledge of the behavior of the recallers, which I can't wait to hear him on the stand. He is related to Ann O'Neill Souza, chief of staff for the mayor, and all of which was not disclosed in his first disclosure. So he's a liar on top of everything else. Oh, wait a minute. Is that a lie by omission? So he recused himself. Liz Camara, the chairman of the elections board, recused herself because she is cousins to the city clerk, Allison Bouchard, and so she can't make a decision because if she does, it might affect her job with and relationship with Allison Bouchard, which is, truthful or not, it also seems to me it affects your job because if you side against the mayor, you're going to get the boot. And then Gregory Brilliant turned around and he made it emphatically clear that he had no idea that his girlfriend had signed the petition to recall. He had no idea of any of the ins and outs of how we collected the signatures until his girlfriend on Friday told him everything. And now that he has inside knowledge, he can't rule independently, and so he recuses himself. But he wanted to make it perfectly clear, and he emphasizes that his girlfriend at no time was part of the recallers. Again, let's cover our backsides because we know the mayor will get rid of you. That left Judge Belford on the Board of Commissioners, and the problem is there wasn't a quorum. So she allowed everybody to speak, but nothing could be done anyways, so it was rather interesting. So basically nothing happens, and the attorney for the mayor turned around and said that they will decide, I love this, they will decide within the next 7 to 10 days on whether or not they're going to file suit. Can you say stall tactic? I don't know, Chip. It seems to me that this is just the old game. And Thursday night at 5:30, the city council meets to set the election date, which means the nomination papers will be available on Friday morning.
You're right. Stall is the operative word. This entire process with the Board of Elections was a stall tactic. They knew very well that everybody on that board should have recused themselves immediately. The fact is that Liz Camara, and by the way, there were a lot of Camaras in the city council president, Liz Camara. I don't have any cousins that have the name Camara. I have no relatives that have the surname Camara. So if they have a name Camara, they are not related to this Camara. So with that being on record, let me say that it's obvious that everybody on that board was appointed by the mayor. Therefore, there is a perceived bias right out of the gate. Then when you dig in even deeper, and you listen to after the first meeting, it's a good thing that Dunn is done. His bias was pretty clear by the motions he made. And then in his second disclosure statement, it was very clear that he has let me put it this way, a mayoral perspective on the recallers, because I read the disclosure, and he spoke about how he saw recallers chasing people across the parking lot. Well, you know, it's the way things are worded. That implies that recallers were running across the parking lot and tackling people and holding, you know, maybe holding them to the ground, and which is absurd. I was at every single recall area picking up petitions when they were full. And I stayed at each one for a while and watched our people approach, and they said, "Are you a registered voter in the city of Fall River? Would you be willing to sign this petition for the recall of the mayor?" Everyone that I saw did exactly that. So people who contend they weren't. And of course, if you're in Walmart parking lot and you're trying to get signatures and a family of 5 walks by and they're going down another aisle while you were busy getting signatures from 2 or 3 other people, you are going to walk after those people and ask them if they would be willing to sign. That characterization of saying they were chasing people around shows bias.
Chip, and the thing is that, you know, contrary to our knowledge, contrary to the recall administration knowledge, the people that were involved, 2 people, one a respected lawyer in Fall River and another a respected producer of movies and TV programs, actually put the recallers to the test without our knowledge, as I said. And they would say to them, "No, I'm not interested, thank you very much." And they would say, "Thank you, have a nice day." And every single location they went to where people were collecting signatures, they specifically did the same test, and there were different people, and the response was always the same. "Thank you very much, have a nice day." I think that speaks volumes when this is a couple that have no intent either for or against the recall or for or against the mayor. So it speaks volumes. And you know, obviously I think that these people will be called in to speak upon it when they start saying that we were beating up old ladies and standing behind their cars and not letting them leave.
Well, yeah, you're right, CJ. And obviously, let's look at the facts. Was there any complaint filed about being chased down in a parking lot? No. Were there all these allegations made by the mayor and his people are unsubstantiated? What is substantiated is that the mayor himself said in his objection to Attorney Brilliant that his significant other was a part of the recall and had knowledge, which is an absolute untruth. Probably as close to being the truth as I had no knowledge, direct or indirect, of what was going on in my own office. So if there's anybody whose nose is going to grow, I think that nose is on the 6th floor. Maybe you better take that window out again, because your nose might go right out the window.
I think it's funny, Chip. It's just amazing. And you know, there's a health issue I need to bring up on the next show, but we're coming up now to the last moment. So you know, I want to say keep your eyes out, because this is going to be a fun next week to 10 days. That's for sure. And you know, thank you everyone for watching Spindle City Straight Talk. It's always a pleasure to be with you, and have a great day.
And don't forget to vote in the recall.